this computer. All right.
So welcome to the call, guys. This is our first webinar to introduce you to a wonderful lady who have a very, very powerful topic. Brigitta Hoeferle. I can never pronounce your last name.
You did right.
But Brigitta and I, we met some years ago, and we worked together at a leading professional development company in the U.S. On the team, on their event team. And then she eventually became my coach and worked with me through one of my major transitions in my career and my life. That's about almost 2 years ago, Brigitta.
Yeah.
And we've since kept in touch. Brigitta has traveled the world training and working with some of the top trainers around the world. She's a wonderful lady with a wealth of knowledge. I respect her highly. And we've been talking about her coming down for a while. So it's finally, the opportunity finally came for her to come down and share with the entrepreneurs here on a topic that when I first heard this information, it rocked my world. The first time I heard this information from another speaker within Brigitta's team, it blew me away. And I immediately said at that point that I have to bring this information to the entrepreneurs in the Bahamas. And from then to now, every time I hear the information, it's mind-blowing. It's a new, innovative concept when it comes to sales. So I'm excited to introduce you to Brigitta. She's going to take it away. Welcome to those of you on the call. I acknowledge you for being here. I know your time is precious and valuable, so I hope that the time that you spend with us is valuable. And also to remind you that Entrepreneur Night is coming up. So this is really a preview into who you will meet at Entrepreneur Night. Hi, Pam. I see you joined in. So, Brigitta, take it away.
Wow. Thank you, Keshelle. I'm so honored and so thrilled that we get to do this together. And who would have thunk 2 years ago that we're going to, in 2017 do something like that? And who would have thunk that next week I will be in the Bahamas? So thank you, Keshelle, for spreading this out to your network. And I am going to be of great, great value. That is my number one mission in life, to give value to you, to not bore you. And believe me, I will not. I'm German, but I will not bore you. That's for sure. So I'm very un-German about that. So again, thank you, Keshelle. Thank you everyone for being on the call, and for the ones that are watching the recording. I'm going to be very mindful of your time. I do also want to have some time to perhaps have some question and answers if we get to that. And I really look forward to shaking your hand, not shaking your hand, hugging you if you're a hugger next week when we see each other. So let me go right into it. The topic for tonight is biology, and it is not the biology that you might think of. It's the Buyology, the buying behavior. So let me go into that here in just a little bit, but let me tell you about some of the secrets around me and the secrets around you. And let me go ahead and get my PowerPoint started. And I promise, cross my heart and hope to die, that I am not going to bore the heck out of you with this PowerPoint. Because when I hear PowerPoint, I go, oh no, please don't. And I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to make it interactive. And if you don't have something to write on or write with at this time, I'm going to encourage you to get something to write on and write with. And at this time, I'm going to share my screen with you. Bear with me here, and then start my slideshow here as my beach ball wheel is turning. Bear with me. So Brigitta Hoeferle is my first and last name, and is also my brand. Don't worry about the spelling or the pronunciation. It really doesn't matter. And I have my beach, there you go. Okay, so, well, I guess my beach ball is still turning, and I'm trying to get this started here, so bear with me. To my person, I came to the United States in April 2004 with a business plan in my pocket. My friends told me, and my family, and my husband's family said, "You're nuts. What are you doing?" We have all of our, oh, great. So let me stop the sharing here real quick. Let me go back to this. All of my family and friends said, "Are you nuts? What are you doing? This will never work." And I said, "And I will show you it will work." So I had no back door open. There was only moving forward. We're going to the United States. We're leaving our home country of Germany. My husband, our little daughter, who was 16 months old at the time, and I came over here. I had I still have a marketing degree and a teaching degree. So I said, let's open a Montessori school. I've done my homework from Germany. We built a school. Fast forward 13 years, I sold the school to 70% last year, and I kept 30% in the business as a passive income. And when I look at working with other people, I want to know, what have they done? I have worked with abundance coaches that are everything else but abundant, or have ever had abundance in their life. So why am I saying this? Well, to toot my own horn, yes, but for really to give you an idea of how to listen to me. And that in itself is a lesson, that when you talk to others, how do you introduce yourself, and how do you prepare other people to listen to you? Do you have the credentials? With my school, I've coached many wonderful people, parents mostly, and then of course children as well. And I've gone through many self-development and further education programs. And I was found by, and that's also how I met Keshelle, I was found by the largest self-development company in the world, and they asked me to come on board as their lead coach. Oh, by the way, if you have one of these, would you turn them off? Because I'd really love for you to stay present, or at least put them on airplane mode. So they brought me on board as their lead. Let's see, let me go ahead and see if we can, okay. So if you do have a noisy background, I'm gonna ask you to mute yourself, please. Thank you. Came on board with the self-development company as their lead coach. I've then also gone into their training program and become a trainer for this large self-development company. And some of you might heard of them. They're called, they used to be called Peak Potentials, and now they're called Success Resources. Success Resources is out of Singapore. And, this is where I am today. Out of this, hold on. Someone has a very noisy background. We're just going to go ahead and mute these real quick. Bear with me. Out of that, I have developed my own programs and are now speaking around the world on stages and in front of wonderful groups like you are. So let's try to start my my screen sharing again. Okay, let's do this one more time. And share screen. There we go. And start the slideshow. Okay. Slideshow. There we go. Okay. So Brigitta Hoeferle is my name. But today I'm very excited to speak about communication and biology, as I said earlier. So at the end of this webinar, you're going to have a much better understanding of where you are communicating from today, and perhaps making you aware of where you're lacking and what you can improve. So at the end of this webinar today, I'm hoping that you are going to go back, look at your notes and go, oh my goodness, I had no idea. in my process that I teach when I speak on stages, and with this communication tool that I'm about to show you, the process always starts with awareness, because if we're not aware, how are we supposed to know what to change, right? If I'm not aware of the thoughts that I'm thinking, how am I supposed to turn them around? There's just no way. And how am I becoming aware of my thoughts? I want to honor you for being on this webinar, for continuous education of yourself, because that's what starts the awareness process. And then from the awareness, it goes to making a choice. So am I making a choice to keep what I have, of what I'm doing? Is it supporting me, or is it not supporting me? Or am I making the choice to make it, to change that? So the choice is the second piece of the awareness, or of the process that I'm teaching. The next is then the thought. Am I keeping the thought? Did I make a choice to change it, or am I keeping it? Or am I changing my thought around? So from awareness to choice, which direction am I going, to the thought process that I am having, and that I'm telling myself, because we're our first listeners. You know, when I think, no one else is listening but me. And a lot of people, again, are not aware of that. So awareness, going into the choice, going to the thought process, and then going into what Harv Eker in The Secret of a Millionaire Mind describes so wonderfully, then going from the thought into a feeling. So you're connecting the feeling into action, putting that into action, then having a result. And that goes back to your choice. Which choice did you make? Are you do you have a supportive thought, or do you have a not supportive thought? So that's the process. But here we are in the communication, and we call this bank, which increases your sales up to 300%. Now that's a pretty large claim. Oh, here's me again. We talked about that. It's a pretty large claim that you can increase your sales 300%. And let me go into that a little bit. And why am I saying you? I'm saying this is all about you, because communication starts with you. I posted a meme that I've done this morning on my Facebook and Instagram that says communication starts in the inside, or is from the inside out. So a lot of parents and spouses and partners that I work with, they're like, but they don't understand me. Well, wait a minute. They don't need to understand you. It needs to come from me within. It starts with me. So here I have you on the screen, and you are the person of the year in all years. You know, Time Magazine actually had this, I think in 2006, as their title, but it is, every year is your year. Every month is your month. Every day, every hour, every second, every nanosecond is your time. It is with integrity. It is with excitement. It's with inspiration, and it's with knowledge that you are you, and that you are able to communicate more efficiently with others. Now, Robert Kiyosaki here says the ability to sell is a #1 skill in business. I'm going to go even further with that. Selling is not just me having a product or service and you buying from me. I don't know how many of you, just by a show of hands, if I see most people here on the screen, have kids. So if you have children, I have 2 wonderful girls, and they're just absolutely fantastic. And they just came back from Germany day before yesterday. They were there for 2.5 months, and I missed them terribly. But, you know, they came home. I had to sell them on the idea of, you need to unpack your stuff out of your suitcase and put the laundry where it belongs. I sold them on that idea. How can I do that most efficiently? When I have good communication skills, and when I know in which communication modality the other person is operating. So there's a lot of words that I'm throwing around here. And I just want to kind of let that sit there for right now as we move further into it. And by a show of hands, I'm just curious, of all of the listeners that we have on this wonderful webinar today, how many people on this webinar have heard that in order to get a yes, you need more no's, right? We hear that. Well, I'm here to tell you that's a stinking lie, because logic, I mean, use your brain. Logic says in order to get more yeses, you need more yeses. No, you need more yeses. In order to get more yeses, you need more yeses. We've also been told that sales is a numbers game, but I'm here to tell you, there it is. In order to get more yeses, we need more yeses. But here's the secret. Sales is not a numbers game. Sales is a people's game. When we understand ourselves better, but really put an effort in to understand who we're communicating with, that's the holy grail. That's the secret all in itself. So, oh, hold on. Didn't mean to do that. So this wonderful gentleman, Brian Tracy, said, all business is a people business. We are all in the people business. We're all in the business of marketing. We're marketing ourselves. We're marketing our services, our products, and we're all in sales. We're always selling someone on some sort of idea, may it be our spouse, may it be our children, may it be whoever, may it be our client or our customers. So this is me. This is Sherry Tree and I. Sherry Tree is the lady that Keshelle mentioned earlier. She is I'm going to call her the medium of the person that this idea really flew through or flowed through. Sherry has an incredible drive, and Sherry and I have been on stages around the world, and that's how we met. But yesterday, and I had to put these pictures here in this slideshow really quick. Yesterday, Sherry and I were on a Zoom call, just like we're on a Zoom call right now, with this wonderful gentleman. Anyone know who this gentleman is? Sound it out. Do you know who this is?
Les Brown?
Les Brown, the one and only Les Brown. And boy, oh boy, when Les Brown shows up on my phone and says, hey, this is Les Brown, let's chat, I listen. So tapping into Les Brown's brilliance and him coming to Sherry and I and saying, look, what you have here with this communications program is it's a world peace promoter, because when we can communicate efficiently, we serve to world peace. And that's what Les is all about. He's about changing millions and millions of people's lives. And how do you do that? By communication. So there's Sherry down here on one screen and Les on the other, and I'm in that itty-bitty little box back down here. So anyway, so here's Sherry with Robert Kiyosaki and Sir Richard Branson. But we're really, communication is not hard, but I know a lot of people that will complicate it. But as Albert Einstein said, it takes a genius to simplify things. You can complicate whatever you want, but how do you simplify it? Well, again, it goes back to becoming aware of it. You need to have that awareness, and that's what we're all about. So there's a secret, there's a science, and the science really goes back to many centuries ago, where Hippocrates has found that humans are put in 4 different personality types. And you might have heard it, in forms of shapes, or you might have heard of this, you might have heard of Myers-Briggs, you might have heard of the colors, you might have heard of the animals and the fish, and people have come up with all sorts of ways to divide these 4 personality types, or the 4 temperaments, as Hippocrates called them, into place. And Sherry and I have just been so impressed with all of these, but really making it so simple. I don't know how many of you have done a DISC or a Myers-Briggs personality analysis and read it and go, huh? And how can I apply this? And how does this apply to me communicating with my customer? Okay, with this assessment, I understand myself better, and that's great. But how does that play out when I communicate with my client? And where does that make cha-ching somewhere down the road? And it doesn't. So DISC is basically, if you want to see DISC and bank and this communication that I'm talking about, how does that differ from each other? It doesn't, but it's completely different. So I know that doesn't make sense to you right now, but that's just a little something to hold you on to. So there's the missing link. With bank and with the communication, we're going to go into blueprint, action, knowledge, and nurturing. By a show of hands, how many of you have done any NLP training or know of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming? So several of you. So I don't know, Keshelle, do you see my little thumb print? Do you see my little picture? Do you see me in the little picture on the side? Yeah? Okay. So for the ones that are that have some knowledge in NLP, and for the ones that don't, I'm going to go through this really quick. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, and it's all about the psychology side. With bank, it's the biology side. So we're having both here. But you have in NLP, you have the kinesthetic person, or the person that communicates in a majority kinesthetically, and you will notice them when you hear for, yeah, I need to get a feel for that, or I can't really grasp that, or that's so out of touch, or I can't get a hold of it. So those are all kinesthetic words, right? That just slipped my mind. I can't catch on. It's very concrete. I get a handle on it, I get a grip on it. So that's kinesthetic. Then you have the auto digital, which is the folks that are really going inside and talking to themselves inside. So words like, I'm motivated, I need to consider, I need to sense, I need to experience, the understanding, the thinking, learning, the process. Those are auto-digital folks, that how they work in their modality. I saw that there's a question coming in. I'll get to that in a second. And then we have the auditory, which are the modality of hearing, listening, sounding. That rings a bell, that resonates with me. I'm deaf to that. I'm all ears. So there's the auditory. And then there's the visuals. And the visuals are saying, yeah, I can see that, or I'm looking for that, but that appears, or show me how to do that, or yes, I can envision that, I can imagine that, but that's kind of foggy, that's unclear to me. So those are from an NLP point of view, the modalities that people communicate in. And again, I'm making you very aware of this because you all communicate in predominantly one of these, and I'm just giving you the awareness right now. Perhaps you can find out, and as you're listening to yourself, in which you are predominantly communicating in. So in here in bank, we have blueprint, action, knowledge, and nurturing, and I'm going to go into that here in a second. But if you look at my picture again, you're going to see this wonderful little, I don't know if you can see it. Anyone know what that is? You see it on the screen too. Anyone take themselves off of mute, and do you see it? Do you see what this is? It's called a cryptex, and it's from the movie The Da Vinci Code. And the Da Vinci Code in the movie, there was there was a hidden message inside of this cryptex. So the Holy Grail was inside of this cryptex, but you needed to know the exact code in order to open this cryptex. And if you didn't have the exact code, there was vinegar inside, and the vinegar would destroy the Holy Grail or the hidden message inside of this cryptex, and it would just be gone. How many of you have found yourself with your client or your spouse or your children or whoever you're communicating with, that you feel like you're doing such an incredible job of communicating and telling them what to do or what you want from them or whatever you want to bring across, and you're like, but you're not getting anywhere. It's not hitting home. You're not closing the deal with your client. Your children are not doing what you thought that you brought across pretty clear. Your spouse is not reacting the way you think it's going to happen. So, and it all goes back to communication. You know, I say, if you don't know, if you're person across from you that you're doing business with, you're communicating with, are full of piss and vinegar, you know, I'm just going to say it as it is, as this is contributing to it, and you cannot find the right words, that person will be a piss and vinegar all along. But if you can tune into how they're communicating, and I'm not saying you need to communicate in piss and vinegar with them, but finding out where do they come from, then that person will open up. I'll tell you a totally different story. The other day I woke up and there was this bang, bang, bang against my window. And I'm thinking, what is that noise? And it just continues to bang against my window until I realized there's a bird trying, I had my blinds up, there's a bird trying to fly into my window. And the bird just did not get it, that it's glass, and that the bird is flying against glass, and it just went over and over and over and hit against the glass. And eventually, after a good 15 minutes, it stopped. I didn't check on the bird. I hope he's okay. But how often do you feel yourself like that bird, just hitting against a glass wall with your client, and you think you're doing such an incredible job in communicating and telling your client what is it that you have, and telling your client how great of a value you have, and how much good it would do to come on board with you, and you're banging your head against this glass wall of your client, and you're not getting anywhere, and eventually you're going to fall on the floor like I assumed that little bird did, because it was probably so exhausted from flying against this glass window over and over again. And you finally decided, you made the decision, I'm no good. I can't do this. I'm not good at sales. I'm not good at communicating. I'm not good at selling. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. And guess what? It goes back to what I said earlier. You are the first listener to yourself. So when you have thoughts like that, you're hearing yourself, and what we hear enough times, we are starting to believe it, and becomes our belief system. So with this Holy Grail, with this cryptex, I want to give you the code of decoding other people's language, other people's communication. And it goes back to what I said earlier. You're communicating in one of these predominant modalities when it comes to kinesthetic, auditory, autodigital, or visual. Sorry. However, this is the cryptex. This is what it looks like. This is my little thing that I have here. Tony Robbins says, let your prospect determine your presentation. And what do I mean by that? When you have a highly kinesthetic audience, talk kinesthetic to them. But I'm going to take it a much, much deeper level. With the program, with the communications program, there are 4 personality types, as we've already established that. amongst Hippocrates. There is blueprint, there is action, there is nurturing, and there is knowledge. Now let me go into those really quick. Again, when you communicate out of your modality, you are delivering the script 25%, but you're leaving out 75% of people. Why? Because when I only communicate in one level of code, in one level of modality of what's predominant to me, then I am not communicating to the other three codes, to the other three modalities that are in my audience. Makes sense, right? So you have if I communicate on one level, I have a 1 to 4 chance, and I'm losing 3/4. So I hope, I asked all of you to have something to write on, to have something to write on and write with at the very beginning of the webinar. And here's what I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to write down your yearly income. So write down, for an example, I have $72,000 per year in income. So I'd like for you to write that down. Write down what it is that you have made, say last year in 2016, in your current income, and multiply that by 3. Okay, so your current income, say of 2016, and multiply that by 3. In my example here, that's $216,000 extra income. Now, why am I multiplying it by 3? Anyone have an idea? Anyone sound it out?
5%. That means 75% of the people.
Exactly. So if I make with my 25%, me just communicating in my modality, that I make 72,000. Okay. Now, if I learn to communicate in the other 3 modalities, in the other 3 codes, I now multiply my income times 3, because now I'm communicating with everyone. I'm getting 100% coverage. That is a $216,000 extra income. So let's take this even a little bit further, this formula. Say you are going to work for the next 20 years. Okay, I don't plan on working that long, but let's just, for the sake of this formula, another 20 years. So I am multiplying now 216,000 times 20 more years. I am making $4,320,000 because I have now learned to communicate not just in one code, but in all 4 codes. This is the money that people are leaving on the table on a daily basis because they only know what they know. They only know how to communicate in their own predominant code. So if you are highly kinesthetic, you probably are, a nurturer or an action type, and you only can communicate with that kind of clientele. And if you have set across a client or a customer and you feel like you're communicating on 2 completely different levels, it's because you as the sender are sending words that are not being received by the person that's sitting across from you, because they're operating in a different code. They're operating in different modality. So the system is blueprint, action, nurture, and knowledge. So let's go into that really quick. When I mentioned DISC and Myers-Briggs and all of the other personality type programs that are out there, they're all based on psychology. They're all based on me. This is based on the person that you're communicating with, and it's based on your listening skills. It's based on you knowing how to communicate to them because you've listened to their values. So it's very value based. It's not psychology based. It's really understanding what the other person that you're communicating with values most. So blueprint is stability, structure, systems, planning, processes, predictability, responsibility, duty, rules, credentials, titles, and tradition. You see the little picture in the background, police officers, you know, this is what they value. So we chose the police officers in the background. If you feel like, you know, some of these values relate to you, or they're necessary to you, or that is your predominant value, then you probably are a first blueprint. And we're going to go into that here in a little bit. The actions their values are freedom, flexibility, spontaneity, action, opportunity, excitement, attention, stimulation, competition, winning, fun, and image. They're all about the ready, fire, aim. Let's just do it. They're not thinking, they're not putting a structure in place like the blueprints. They're fast, they don't think it through, while the blueprints are still creating a funnel and a structure and all of that. The action's already out the door and doing it. Okay. So some of you might resonate with that. And then we have the nurturers, and the nurturers are all about the relationships, the authenticity, personal growth, significance, teamwork, involvement, community, charity, ethics, harmony, morality, and contribution. So they're the very kinesthetic, you know, namaste kind of folks. And you might resonate with that. And then last but not least, they're the knowledge-driven people, and their values are learning, intelligence, logic, self-mastery, technology, research and development, science, universal truth, expertise, competence, accuracy, and the big picture. So you probably have found a value from each one of them that resonates with you, and that's great, because we all have, as Hippocrates has established, we all have all four within us. We have one that is predominant amongst all of the others, and depending on where you are, your codes can come out in different scenarios or in different responsibilities. So as a mother, my nurturer comes out more. As a school director, my blueprint comes out more. And when I ride my bike, then my action comes out more. So, and when I want to learn something new, then my knowledge comes out more. But predominantly I am, and I'm speaking about myself right now, I am action. And I'd love for Keshelle, maybe this week or next week when I'm in the Bahamas, to share a link with you where you can easily find out, you know, what is your predominant code, or what is your predominant value, and then what comes after that. And we have little links where you can crack your code and see what your code is, so you know for yourself. But again, here it really goes to, what is the other person? Where is the other person coming from? And how can you learn to hear for that? What code they are talking in, and in which modality they are operating. So with this program, San Francisco State University has done an independent study where they have released that you can, by learning how to crack the code, you can learn the buying behavior within 90 seconds of the person that you're doing business with. And you say, how in the world do you do that? Let me go and stop share here for a minute. We have these cards, and when I'm in the Bahamas next week, I'll bring a ton of set of those cards with me. So the cards is your little helper. And with those cards, you can find out in which predominant code your client is working in. So and it's a very simple script that I use, and I encourage you to use it too. I say, you know, when I meet someone at a networking event or a client, where I go into a client meeting, I say, hey, would you do me a favor, please? I have these 4 cards, and they have the values on the back of them. Let me turn on, it's getting a little dark here, and I need to turn on some light. There we go. on the back of these cards, there are values. And I'd like for you to read each value on each card and then place them in front of you in the order which resonates most with you first, and then the second, and then the third and the fourth. That will help me to serve you better, and it will help me to understand where you're coming from. Do you know what? People always want to talk about who? Themselves, right? When you ask anyone anything, they want to talk about themselves. So I'm giving them an opportunity to talk about themselves. And there was not one client, and I deal with pretty high-level, C-level folks that have not read this and go, no, I'm not interested. Because they're like, oh, yeah, that's really me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's not me at all. No, I'll forget that. Yeah, that's me. Mm-hmm. And so now, within 90 seconds or even less, sometimes it's just, it resonates really quick with them. I now know in which predominant code that they are operating in, that they're working. And now I can adjust, because it's up to me, I can adjust my communication to them. Now, here's another thing. Can you guys see my little cards? How many of you are familiar with the Moravian communication study? Anyone familiar? Let me see, show of hands.
No.
Let me go into this really quick. So the Moravian communication study is 7% of communication are words. 7% are words. Tonality is 38% of how we go up and down and how we pronunciate and how we make it, maybe softer. When I talk to a nurturer, I want to talk more soft. I want to be in their face. To an action, I want to be in their face and go, ready, fire, aim, let's do it. Right? So 38% is tonality, and 55% is body language. Now, when I'm on the phone and I talk to a new client that I want them to come on board with me, I am not sitting down. Why? I am walking around. I have just listened to my favorite song before I talk to them, because body language will also resonate in how you're going to talk to people on the phone, because quite frankly, you only have words and you have tonality, but you do not have body language. They do not see you when you are on the phone. So in order to have really good communication on the phone, if we go by the Moravian communication study and words are only 7% of the communication, choose your words wisely and have the awareness and have the knowledge of which words to choose. But how do you know which words to choose if you don't know who you're talking to? So these cards are great. Again, I said earlier that there is a link. So when I have a client that I am talking to on the phone, I can't do these cards on the phone with my client. However, I already have email contact to my client and I want to crack their code. I say, hey, will you do me a favor? I'm going to send you a quick link, and I'd like for you to go into that link and read the values and just go and follow each step. So the link already says, it gives you instructions what to do. So then my client goes into, clicks on the link, and then there are cards virtually that they are reading. They're reading the values, and then they're placing them in order. Now, when they hit submit, that person gets an email and says, congratulations, your code is blueprint, action, knowledge, nurturer. I get an email too, because I sent that person my link. Now I'm getting an email that says, congratulations, Keshelle Davis just cracked her code, and she is a blueprint, action, knowledge nurturer. So she predominantly is blueprint. I'm not saying that Keshelle is actually a blueprint, but just for the sake of this example. And this is what the email says, and this is how you are going to communicate with her. Holy Grail right there. We cracked the code, okay? That alone, if I would have had this 20 years ago, 10 years ago, last year, year before last, to crack the code of my client, and for me to not just communicate in my predominant code, but now know all how I'm going to communicate in the other 3 codes, incredible. Let me tell you a quick story, and then I want to open up for question and answers. Darren, a great friend of mine, has gone into a corporate setting, was invited into a IT organization, and ITs are the, you know, I'm doing this for fun, but they're the very knowledge-driven folks. You know, they need to have all of the nitty-gritty details and need to know all the facts and need to read all of the fine print and all of that. So he was invited. It was like a $250,000 deal that he was pitching to for this IT company, and he had to present in front of the board of directors. So of course, IT company, his entire presentation was knowledge. But because he's taken this program, he went into the boardroom with his presentation, with his laptop, ready to present in all knowledge. And he said to the boardroom, to the board of directors, will you please do me a favor so I can serve you best? And he gave a set of cards to each person around the table, and they all put their cards in order of how they resonated to the values. And guess what? Most of the room was nurturer, because their board of directors, most of the room was nurturer. So Darren decided, I'm not opening my laptop. I'm going to keep it shut, and I'm going to do this whole presentation in the predominant code of nurturer and not of knowledge, because what would have happened? He would have not gotten the deal. He would have completely spoken over their head and not spoken their language, and he would have not gotten the deal. But here's the thing, he got the $250,000 deal with that one adjustment in his presentation. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I see that there's a question on the chat. Oh, there wasn't. It was just a thank you for the invite. Well, there you go. So, any questions that you have on anything that I said, you're welcome to put that in the chat. You're welcome to just blur it out. And I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you next week. Any questions?
Hello.
Yes.
I have a question. My name is Marcia Leone.
Hi, Marcia.
This is an awesome presentation. I think that is such a great idea, those cards, and breaking the code. That is an excellent idea. I've never seen that before.
Yep, I'm with you. I was blown away.
Wow. Was this your original idea?
No.
And,
yeah, go ahead.
And how did you discover it? Was it through experiment or what?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question, Marcia. You know, again, going back to Hippocrates, this is ancient. This is ancient knowledge. But a friend of mine, Sherry Tree, she has actually come up with the cards. And Sherry and I have been great friends, and we're fellow speakers. And she developed this, and she has been begging me for 2 years to come on board, because I teach other things, and this is just an added tool in my tool belt. And when I say tool in my tool belt, everyone needs to communicate. Everyone is in sales. No one wants to be sold. I'm gonna say that again. No one wants to be sold, but everyone wants to buy. Right? So how do we communicate with others, with our clients, with our customers, with our spouse, with our children, with whoever, with our parents, without without offending them, without trying to sell them something, but with showing respect to their code. So no, it's not. It's Sherry. Sherry Tree has done most of this legwork, but it really goes all back to Hippocrates. And Sherry says, you know what? I'm just a medium. God used me to let this flow through me, and I honor her for that.
Is there, can you share the link with us so we can assess, so I can assess my own code, make sure I know from a theoretical point of view and be able to identify my code, and as well as identifying the code of my customers? Is there?
Absolutely. So I just send you mine, mybankcode.com/Hoeferle. Okay. So when you crack your code, you are receiving an email on your own code, and I'm receiving an email on your code. Okay. So now once you have cracked your code, Marsha, I'm getting an email saying Marsha has cracked her code. Now, for your clients, you want to get your own link. So you can get the Bank Pass, which is a $30 per month program. You can do that. You can become a consultant. You can get the virtual training, and I'll talk about that. I hope that I see you, Marsha, next week, and I'll talk a little bit more about that next week.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. That was a great question. Any other questions?
I know you're going to talk about, I know you haven't scratched the surface, Brigitta, as yet with reference to all that I've seen about the bank and the program, and I can't wait for you to share it. But, you know, it's really a comment, not necessarily a question. When I first heard about it, again, you know, we probably were in the same room when we heard.
Probably Sherry, so, yeah.
What it did for me, again, two things I said to myself. One, I have to introduce this at home. Definitely, I'm so excited to be able to do this because this is innovative. And I've been an entrepreneur. All of us are entrepreneurs on the call. And I have sent, and I just was reading an article today, actually, I have sent tons and tons and tons of proposals out to clients. I am sick of sending proposals, right? And so when I first saw this and I realized how valuable it was, not even for clients, but also relationships, I was able to understand the difference between my husband and I, and it was so amazing how different we are. I'm an action.
What a shock, Keshelle.
My husband is a blueprint, so believe it or not, you see the difference there, right?
Right.
So it really helped me to be careful in my communication to him, as well as just be more aware of the clients, you know. And so I'm excited to see or have you share the full information with the people here.
And thank you for that, Keshelle, and I'm glad you brought that up, because after I learned that I can actually write my emails, and I had to become aware of that first, in not just one code, but in all codes. So I'm communicating to all people and not just to the action people, because I am an action person, and that's how I write and that's how I talk, right?
Yep.
But in the way that I write and talk, I might lose the blueprint, the nurtures, and the knowledge. So after I learned to write in all colors, in all modalities, in all codes, I started to close more deals. Wow. There was one great deal right after we came back after doing our training with Sherry, and it's a very, very in-depth training, and as a German, I'm very, very impressed. And as a German, my knowledge does come out. And it's such a vast and great majority of information. But anyway, we came back and I wrote a proposal with my husband for a large corporation. And we applied what we learned, and we apply that now in everything that we do. We closed the deal immediately, and it was a $16,000 deal for 5 hours. So we made $16,000 in 5 hours because we wrote our proposal in not just one language, but in not language, but codes, in all 4 codes.
Wow.
That's huge.
Wow.
So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah. Any other questions? And like I said, or like Keshelle said, I just merely scratched the surface here, but I didn't want to dive in the deep end with you guys, because I'll be over there next week, and I would love to take time to chat with you, to we might put something together, Keshelle and I, meet with you. Yeah. So Keshelle, did you want to add anything to that?
I just want to, time flies when you're really learning. I wanted to make sure everyone is aware that we have Entrepreneur Night coming up next week, Tuesday. It's at the Hilton, 6:30. You've just scratched the surface. If you're in business and you have struggles and challenges with selling, this is definitely the event that you want to attend. It's $25. It's not a lot of money to invest in yourself and your business. You're going to walk away with not only Brigitta, but also Darren. Brigitta, you may have met Darren as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yes. You're in for a treat. Holy cow.
Then this really great speaker, and he's going to talk about automation. A lot of you see the emails that I have going out. A lot of those are already preset and automated, and it works like a charm in my business. So you're not only going to learn the sales aspect of growing your business, you're also going to learn how to automate a lot of the marketing to grow your business. So I would encourage you to come out. If you haven't registered already, you do so, and then invite your network of entrepreneurs to come out. You want to give Brigitta and Darren a very, very warm welcome when they come. They're both in the Bahamas for the first time. Right? Brigitta, this is your first time.
Well, that's not completely true. I did go on a cruise, but I don't think that counts.
That does not count. So we want to give them a nice Bahamian welcome, and that's it. If there are any other questions, I see the chat now. That's your comment, hey? Yeah. I think we can close the call, and we have another one. Do we have another webinar? I think.
We can definitely schedule one. I can do one. You and I talk, and if any of you have input on it, we can definitely do another one, Keshelle. I'd love to do one for your group.
And the recording will be sent out. So if you came in late and you missed anything, we will be sending out the recording for you to listen to again and for you to share.
Yep, fabulous. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Now, if everyone is on a video, I just want to give a really quick shout out to everyone out there. I usually do this. So everyone that's on the video, say hi.
Hi. Hi.
Super. Thanks, guys. Hey, I'm very, very excited. I look forward to meeting all of you. And no matter what business you're in, communication applies everywhere and anywhere. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Keshelle, thank you so much for bringing me on. And if we want to do another one, yeah, let's do it. You let me know. Just chat me later, okay?
Awesome.
Super. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Oh, and look at the clock. The German did it again.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.